Yeah, so Bigley came from that world, and
but
Fisher and Greenberg love him, so he's in the show, and he's fucking hilarious.
Do you think that you auditioned? Do you think that he auditioned for your part?
I honestly, I don't know that I thought about it that much.
You guys are very similar.
We are. We're
You're
both
very similar.
positive.
You're very positive. You're very like, he comes in like, hey, oh, that's good. You can.
And he loves stand-up. He loves comedy.
Right.
And he likes, dude, we talked about so much stuff. We had so much crossover where it's like, you like boxing, you like comedy. And then we just gabbed about that.
I remember being in the van with him. We were at the hotel. We were there during Sandy.
Really?
They were filming. We all got stuck. Wait. In Chicago. They filmed it in Chicago.
Uh-huh.
And we got stuck in Chicago. And I had whooping cough. I remember I got whooping cough.
People still get whooping cough?
Dude, I do. I remember I had to get put in another hotel.
Uh-huh.
This fancy hotel was all white. The rooms were white. It was like being in heaven. And I was taking a shit, and I had a coughing fit, and I passed out. And I woke up just banging my head. Literally, I was just banging my head off of the door, this white door, and I came through. My lips were numb, and I looked, and the door was just all blood from my head.
Oh, my God.
Bald head. And I was just like, ugh. And I had to call my wife. I'm like, and then I had to find my way home.
What the fuck?
It was the fucking best week of my life working on Sirens, and then it went to shit.
What the fuck?
I just went to shit like that. Like we couldn't get home. I wound up. I remember. Yeah, it was nuts. I almost died.
Christ, man.
In this hotel.
Yeah.
But I remember.
Did you get to the bottom of why that happened?
Because when you get whooping cough, you cough so much
that you don't get air in your brain.
So I just passed out.
Jesus Christ!
And I was banging. I was like shitting and banging my head. Could you imagine if they found me?
Oh my God!
They'd be like, somebody murdered this fat fuck while he was shitting. His head is smashed against the door. Yeah, it was crazy. But another great show. And Bob Fisher. Damn it, I remember Bob.
Yeah, Bob Fisher was the man. He also co-wrote Wedding Crashers. It's so funny. I did a podcast with Greg Stone in here like last week, and we ended up talking about Bob Fisher. We made a song about Bob Fisher.
Can I hear
Only because Bob Fisher.
That's it?
There's more to it, but I can't remember. Max might remember. But I remember I was doing the show, and I was so fucking anxiety-ridden and insecure. And one night, Bob Fisher calls me, and he goes, hey, man, I know you're insecure about what you're doing on the show. And the whole time we're on set, he's like, listen, you're doing great. If you weren't doing great, we'd tell you we have a vested interest in this being great. Yeah. We want you to be great. I promise you're doing great. And then he calls me one night and he goes, hey, man, I know you're super anxious about how you're doing, and I want you to know it's okay. Be as anxious as you want to be.
Because that's the guy. Because
that's part of it. Yeah. And, and I'll keep being here to tell you you're doing fine. You can be as anxious as you want to be. And dude, that's just, I never heard that because everybody would be like, you don't need to be anxious. You don't need to be anxious. And he's like, listen, be as anxious as you want.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Don't be ashamed of it. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It was the sweetest thing anybody ever could have said.